All right. Hello, David. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you, John?
I am doing all right. I'm doing all right. It's good to see you.
Always good to see you too.
Good. Um, so I wanted to talk a little bit with you about our upcoming, I looked this up in a dictionary, quinquennial
Okay.
celebration of BIPOC brainspotting, quinquennial meaning 5 years. And it's hard to believe it's actually this date today, December 9th, is
Wow.
one of the days that we had brain spotting in Atlanta in December of 2019. December 10 was the last day, so this would have been the third of 4 days as we did back way back then. Um, so what do you think about 5 years going by?
In a blink of an eye, you know, uh, it's it's a moment and it's a universe, you know, both at the same time. Um, Again, it started with an idea and aspirations and conversations and actualizations. And again, uh, I don't make a secret of the fact that it's, for me, the most important development in the history of brain spotting. Our BIPOC brain spotting community, nation, emerging, converging, and just developing. And uh, it really aligns so much with the neuro experiential model, okay, because which not just aims to break away, but breaks away from this Western medical model lens into, I call it a global model, but it's really um, uh, a model that has its roots in indigenous wisdom and healing. And what better alignment for the neuro experiential model than with our BIPOC community?
Yes, I it's for me it's hard to believe that it's actually been 5 years. I mean, it does seem like it was just yesterday. But everything seems like it was just yesterday because there's, the COVID years in between then and now, because COVID became a thing just a few months after we had our first BIPOC phase one. Um, do you remember anything about that phase one, or do you remember everything?
I remember a lot. Um, uh, uh, Again, you you made that famous statement when we started. Please do not scare the white man. And um, I understand where, I mean, that it was a protective and generous thing for you to say, even though you said it in jest. I never felt any fear or anything to be afraid of, because I felt uh, I was in such a grounded, warm, um, caring, emotional space, and for me, it was an incredible opportunity. Um, I remember the combination of standing, looking out at our group, and it was a pretty good size group, and having you off to my left, standing there, I can still see you and feel you in that space. I remember a lot of the energy, a lot of the the comments. I remember we had a great team of helpers, some of whom had just finished phase one.
That's
Um,
right. Yes.
uh, and what that represented was how non-hierarchical our process was, how inclusive it was, and how it was not falling into that Western lens of this is what it is, this is what it has to be, and you have to follow. We created it, as we went along.
Yes, yes. It's I remember people calling up and saying, "Oh, I want to come," or emailing me saying, "I want to come to this, but I've only taken phase one and blah blah blah." I'm like, "Well, that's good enough for me. Just just come." I had no idea that it would turn into what it has turned into, which is now, I think we're probably going on upwards of like 2,000 um, BIPOC brain spotting practitioners that have been trained in BIPOC trainings. Of course, there are other BIPOC brain spotters that have gone to uh, non-BIPOC trainings, but just in terms of the BIPOC only trainings, I think we're up to about 2,000
Mhm.
people in
And
5 years.
that again, for BIPOC nation, is only second to the United States in terms of number of brain spotting therapists trained.
Yeah.
And number three is Brazil. The
Okay.
BIPOC nation is ahead of Brazil.
Okay. Yeah, and we're continuously growing. Um, so initially in thinking about this celebration that I wanted to have for 5 years, like I said earlier, it's this actual weekend, but you're a busy man. Um, so we've scheduled for February 27, 28, and March 1st in Atlanta at the Holiday Inn Express. And we're going to be doing a masterclass, a BIPOC masterclass. And I don't know if you remember the first BIPOC masterclass that was online because of COVID. And why don't what is the brain spotting masterclass?
Okay. The question is not just what you asked, but what is it as a BIPOC phenomenon? Okay. Um, phase one and phase two, we have to teach you the theory and the practice in a very simple, almost rigidified way. And it's the only way that the information can go in. We learned this by teaching for 21 years. Um, phase three and phase four are advanced, but I'm still teaching technique. Okay, I'm still teaching, double spotting and part spotting and body spotting and all these things. And there's great value to it. But the greatest value is when you don't have to teach any specific technique, when it is the fully expressed, expanded, embodied ways that we do brain spotting with people. And it really fits more of the global indigenous model that, it's the experience that counts. And for me, it's the best way to teach the neuro experiential model because I don't have to weave it into a technique or a specific demonstration. It's just living and breathing the whole way through. But it is it is my favorite training to teach. I think it is the most valuable training that I teach. Some people get caught up in numbers, so they think three or four and now five, and where does the master class fit in? Master class is at the head is the head of the list, the head of the line, and uh, it lends itself to uh, more of an indigenous, global way of showing up for healing and engaging and re-engaging around what really is healing about. And in that way, it is not caught up in any way in anything Western. Um, so it's where people learn the most from me, and for the BIPOC community, it's a special masterclass where you know, the experience and the learning and the healing comes up from the roots, you know, as opposed to anything that is, you know, uh, contained within any specific rigid barriers.
Right. Yeah, I tell people say, oh, the masterclass, but I should take phase two. And I was like, well, I mean, you can, but you know, I'm like, there's always a phase two, like literally. There's always a even might not be a BIPOC phase two, but there's always a phase two somewhere within a month given by somebody. I said, but the master classes are less frequent. But for me, more importantly, is that it really shows how to be present in uncertainty and do brain spotting.
Mhm.
And and that's why I've been encouraging people. I mean, you know, we're going to do a little bit of a celebration, but it's about if you have just finished phase one last week or 2 weeks ago or whenever, and you are worried or anxious or nervous about, oh, well, how does this brain spotting thing really work? There's no better training to attend than a masterclass
Uh,
because you can see everything.
I just finished a master class with Europe, and one of the people who I did a demo with had taken phase one uh, 3 weeks earlier. You know, hadn't even really started to metabolize the information and was there at the master class and fit right in. Uh, Again, these are, you know, these are universal concepts.
Right.
Um, and they're you know, archaic concepts also. So uh, you don't have to be an expert or a master or have X number of years under your belt with this. It's coming to study and connect in ways that doesn't happen in any of the trainings that I give. Also, people who have taken the master class before. First of all, this one is in person versus virtual, so and I do almost no in person, and that's a real. It's just very different, and it's a real opportunity. Um, but we have trainers, brain spotting trainers, who come to the master class who've been. This is their third, fourth, seventh master class, and they keep coming to the master class. And these are our top people because, first of all, the learning is so deep, but also each master class is absolutely different. And what I teach and how I teach it and what happens, you know, it just it happens and comes alive on its own. So whether again you just finished phase one 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago, or whether you've been doing brain spotting for 14 years, or whether you're a consultant or a trainer, and no matter how many times you've been there, uh, it is more than worthwhile. Um, I have a great training staff in the United States, North America, around the world. Um, but the feedback that I get is that there's certain things that people get from me that they couldn't get in from any other trainer, and that's because I'm the originator and I've been doing it longer and so on. Um, but the master class is an opportunity to get certain things the way I think, the way I feel, the way I do, and the way I work, you know, for the healing frame that you can't get in any other place. And I'll be immodest. I don't think there's any other training or any other course out there that is close to what the master class is and whatever other modalities there are.
I would agree, having done several master classes with you. I think I think part of the sort of the novelty of it is the learning is by absorption and osmosis as opposed to reading and following a set of techniques and directions and re-referring back to the technique and the direction to make sure that what you're doing, is accurate
Mhm.
or the best. So I think in that sense, it's an amazing opportunity to just actually just come and be present, because that's what we're all trying to do when we're brain spotting with our clients. And since with the masterclass, as you said earlier, there's no technique to be taught, you get to see something and then you could go, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And then
Mhm.
you go, well, yes, you can. And oh, wait, I can use 2 pointers. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. Oh, I could stand up, like whatever happens, because one never knows what will happen in the experientials or the role play supervisions, because it's not scripted,
Mhm.
it's not a video. A lot of other trainings, which is also, I think, the beauty of brain spotting and the beauty of a masterclass. There's a lot of other trainings, they use a prepared video to demonstrate specific concepts and things. And so just by default, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but by default, the learning that you can get from that is limited. Because it's a video, it's what the person has preconceived, um, that needs to be done. And we all know, at least I know how energy works. And you get people in a room, and
Mhm.
then things start to shift and happen because of the energy in the room. And even with the folks that will be online, because we are hybrid, um, it it just creates an atmosphere, as the very first brain spotting BIPOC brain spotting training did, that I did not expect. It's unpredictable, the cohesion. Not saying it's perfect, but I'm just saying that, as many people said at that very first brain BIPOC brain spotting, is that, and this is true for myself, it was the first training that I had gone in a BIPOC environment that wasn't about diversity. Um,
Mhm.
and people are like, so many people are like, oh, I did not even know I needed this. And and
Right.
here I am. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, so it's a BIPOC training with everything that's special about that. It's in person, which I don't do anymore. Okay, I only do
I'll
it
hear
for,
that just for
yeah,
us.
just for the BIPOC community. I do in person, um, and it's a master class, which is a totally open, expansive learning environment, and it's very experiential. Um, everybody who attends not only observes, but is processing along with each person in the experientials, and also even in the role plays. I want to point out that I work in my office differently with each person I work with. Um, and in a demonstration, you can't necessarily do that. But in all of the experientials and the role plays too, I do each one completely differently. And with some, it just starts, the person comes in, they start talking, they're on a gay spot, and we just go all the way through, and it's just presence, you know? And with another one, it's a dialogue all the way through, you know?
Yes.
Um, uh, Another one, all of a sudden parts pop out and we're doing parts work, but not even part spotting the way I teach it necessarily in phase 3, but just a different way to do parts work with brain spotting. So, uh, so, so there's incredible variety there, and therein lies the learning opportunities. Um, but again, this is in the environment of a BIPOC training, which again, it's not about diversity. It's about being and
Yes.
being in an environment where you can be in such a way that you can't be in any other environment. What a better way to study the master class.
Yes. Indeed, indeed. All right, peoples. Um, that's just a brief. Hopefully, it gives you inspiration to register for the fifth anniversary BIPOC Brain Spotting Masterclass, which will be conducted by our beloved David Grand founder and developer of Brainspotting.
In person.
In person. It's going to be in person at the Holiday Inn Express in Atlanta. And then for those of you who can't make it for a variety of reasons, medical, family responsibilities, etc., there's also a hybrid option. Um, so we hope to see you there. And congrats to us for making BIPOC brain spotting happen.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, John.